Go ahead and start the live stream to make sure that the live stream's up and running. Looks like we have. Yep, perfect. The live stream is up and running. Awesome. Perfect. So, yeah, let me turn just so we can see presenters as well. That should work. All right. So, hey everybody. Hope you guys are having a good couple of trading days. I think the first thing, like always, we're going to go ahead and jump through is going to be looking at the P&Ls, and then we'll have Marcus and Keith. We have on here talk a little bit about automation today. But first off, let's just give a huge shout out to like the people from last week, crushing. See 2C trading his M and Qs today. We have Captain crushing it on Top Step right now, but we've had a couple different uh, crazy payouts. We have a lot of people using Ninja Trader right now as well. So looks like they're on take profit up about 2 grand. It looks like uh, gross profit 5,000. So that's awesome. From last week, we have Ice, of course, crushing it on all his accounts, also putting exactly how he's entering and exiting all the trades. Let's go ahead and make this full screen for now. Um, and let's see, who else do we have? I know we had some crazy payouts last week as well. We had some people getting some payouts last week. 10 days with QuantView, first payout on Apex. That's crazy. So that's within the first 10 days that they were using, uh, you know, our software. That's awesome. Who is that? R. That's crazy. Let's see. Who else do we have? We have somebody passing 20 accounts. And their next goal is to get a payout. Looks like nice and slow too. So that should be, hopefully we can see some payouts from that account. Jay, she had I think Tusi, you're here. She had what, $30,000 so far requested now, she says. Ice, have you talked to her or him? I'm assuming it's her.
Yes. I talked with her. She messaged me. Uh, I think the day of or the day before she posted. So she got approved for 20,000. So she did it. I guess was separating her 20 accounts. 10 of them were 50K accounts, and 10
Other
others
10 were
were
250.
250K. And so she got approved
Nice.
for 20,000, and then the following day, she submitted another request for 30,000. So she has definitively 20,000 coming, and I'm sure they'll approve the other 30 because she was, trading them all
That's
similar. So
awesome.
yeah, I'm very, very happy for her. According to
So she
Tusi,
has like
said that was
50K.
yeah, she has 50K coming. Yep, yep,
Nice.
in the
Wow.
bank. Yep, yep.
Was she using your setup for the
Um,
most part? Or
I did consult with her, did like a consultation with her for an hour, and I kind of laid out how I trade in my chart. I don't know specifically if she was trading the way I like to trade, but um,
yeah,
she did have a greater understanding of kind of what the market does day by day after that. So definitely worked out for her.
nice. I see some people in fast track trading going for a bunch of accounts as well. So it's been a crazy couple of past weeks, man. Seeing people come in here and get payouts their first week, seeing people get payouts like in the 50,000 dollar range relatively quickly, has been wild. Somebody did request to come up. Let's see. I'm not bringing up people that I'm not sure who they are. But if you have questions, put them in the trading floor and we'll get to them. Um, let's see. Jay said, "Don't know how they are all passing. I failed 7. out of two, uh, 72, reset, uh, follow everything, strategy, etc. Yeah, I mean, it just depends on like I would have to look at how you're trading and Jay. In fact, you can add me, Jay, and I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you in DMs because it helps for me to evaluate, like, seeing how you're trading, where you're taking your trades, and then I can see if I can help you if you're having a hard time with with it. I think the other thing for again, it's like I reiterate this for all new users. I am very big fan of people starting slow and snowballing, right? I think that proper risk management is important. I think that people should always start slow and people should go from, focusing on getting a payout on one account, then two accounts, then four accounts, then eight accounts, then 16 accounts, then 20. Right. I don't think that anybody should be jumping to trading 10 or 20 accounts at a time if you've never got a payout before. I think that you should take it slow. It snowballs way faster than you think it does. And I think that's important for people to know. And again, um, yeah. Um, Susie, it is just you, it seems like. Uh, Not sure. Um, okay. Uh, um, let's see.
I got
Marcus,
Can you hear me?
um, yeah. Keith,
Good.
are you here? Does your mic work, Keith? I hope it
Yes,
does.
sir.
Perfect. I think I want you to just kind of I know you made a recent video about automation and setting up automation. Do you have the ability to share your screen right now or no?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, I think it'd be cool for you to just to kind of give a brief overview of maybe kind of what you're back testing because you seem to be doing a lot more automation than most people in here, right? And I think your thought process and back testing and forward testing and um, just give a brief overview of that, and I'll also see if anybody have any questions about automation.
Okay. Well, the first thing, full disclosure, I am not yet a profitable trader because I've only been trading futures for about 6 months. So I'm still adjusting things, trying different things out. I did go in on the automation around sometime around late January. And now that we have more people using it, I see that we're collecting data a lot quicker here in our spreadsheet. If you're not aware, one second. Nope, that's not it. So the more people that we have that add data, the better off we'll be. Of course, this changes and varies per each of the uh, the method that you're using to work with the automation. I use the automated trading suite, which is run through AWS from Amazon. I also use the Chart VPS servers. And I use mRemote NG to connect to. Let me get this over multiple ones at the same time. So the first thing is that you could use the software to be able to connect to multiple VPSs if you have them. I use the $60 VPS with 4 gigs of memory, and I've not had any issues using Tradevate or Quantower. If you're using NinjaTrader, I imagine those specs are a lot higher. Mm. As far as running the strategy, for anybody that's not already familiar, you would set up your charts in TradingView. Those alerts are then passed to the automated trading suite in that case, or your personal um, third-party software that you're using to pass trades. There is something new for anybody that actually I don't want to show any of that right now. Skip that. For anybody
Yeah.
that does use automation and forward testing, there's something that's pretty cool. I don't know what the future outlook of it is, but there is an option now to do forward testing in the automated trading suite version 1.4. And in that version, you can run many multiple tests simultaneously from one server. Here's a notebook that Anthony created. I took a step to make it a little more user friendly. Again, this is dependent upon Anthony's development. He's the one that will run this or advise on future updates. All I do is I open this notebook. If anybody wants it, just hit me up and we'll shoot it over to you. In the meantime, we just click run all, and it will ask us to browse well, as soon as it connects over here on the right. This is for converting before testing spreadsheets, which look like download. I was just prepping it before the meeting. 1 second. That's useful. The spreadsheets that the server spits out. Wow, that was a bust. All right. I'll have it ready next time. It's right here. This is
No,
what it
it's
looks
cool.
like. Sorry about that. This is what the spreadsheet looks like. I think Anthony may have written this script to uh, convert the format of this spreadsheet for use with Traders Post, if I'm not mistaken. Just so you guys are aware, if you actually want to,
You mean
could not be.
Tradezilla? I think it's called.
I'm not sure. I just remember
Okay.
seeing Traders Post. All right, this doesn't want to connect, but basically, all you do is open this notebook. You click Run All. You browse to the file, and then it asks you where you want to save it. You save, and then that's that, and you end up with this, which is a little more user friendly regarding the format.
Yeah.
Sorry for the sidetrack. But essentially, so I do partially manual, partially automation. I should be doing more automation, given the lack of skill I seem to have with manual trading at the moment. Like Travis said, I was once trading 10 or 20 step X accounts at the same time. But if you have a bad day or you go in the wrong direction, you're out all of that. And I'll
Yeah.
stop sharing my screen now.
Can you go back to
Sure.
the Google sheet, the Google for testing that we had?
Sure.
I think you still have it up in the browser, right? Forward testing.
Oh, I see. Forward testing.
Yeah, yeah. So for people that don't know, it's like this is a spreadsheet that he's created, and it's like you can see that it goes pretty far back. I mean, I want to say it goes back to March, and it's just people putting in, what they're testing, and the settings and the methodology, and then showing the P&Ls every single week.
The fine work of
Um,
Marcus, actually.
huh? Oh, okay, Marcus, my bad.
Hmm.
Um, but this is kind of gets into yeah, the more people that post into this, the better, the more results that we'll have, the more forward testing results, and then kind of be able to hone tune things going forward. And it's also kind of it's very useful, I think, for just automation in general. We do have people that have recently got payouts from automation inside of the profits and wins channel. If you hop over there, um, recently, um, yeah, Whitley had a fully automated thing. uh who was it? Someone recently just got a payout. I think they were doing QGrid.
There are a couple
um
of people that are doing really well. I see Pro Frosty in here a lot. There's a
yeah,
couple other people that are contributing now to that automated um, process, in which we really appreciate because it helps all of us.
yeah, and I think the biggest thing with automation, the biggest thing that I see people make a mistake with is over leveraging, right? I mean, you can over leverage, relatively easy. I mean, Anthony says $1,000 drawdown for every micro contract that you trade on NQ. But the problem then becomes, if in order for you sometimes to make, say, $3,000, might take 6 months with one micro. So you end up in a situation where it's like you want to trade one contract with automation, but then you also want to be able to get a payout and not have to wait. But it's like it's all about perspective. It's like, if you have 20 accounts and you're able to trade, say, three micros, right? And that's $9,000 in 6 months, but then you're doing that across 20 accounts, then you see that ends up being like, 800, over 100 grand, right? So like 180 grand. So it's like, yes, it seems slow, but that's the thing with automation, is like you have to be able to give yourself big, room for those bigger drawdowns. Um, and so
And
with auto, go ahead.
and also I need to be aware that prop firms such as Apex calculate on intraday. So if you've got for example, a 300K eval, it's got a $7,500 drawdown. That's based on unrealized profit. So if you're up 1,000, you go down 2,000, you're now down 2,000.
Yeah.
But the point
Yeah.
is, it'll run through that drawdown way faster than you expect.
Yeah.
Top Step calculates EO day, Perdia calculates EO day, Fast Track's EO day. So there's some firms that don't have that particular issue to be concerned with.
Yeah. And the other thing with automation is, like, if you're doing it on props, you just make sure that you work within the prop rules. I personally try to stay away from a lot of automation and prop accounts unless they allow it. Like Blue Sky says that they allow automation, right? Um, Apex has weird rules because they say like you can't have fully automated stuff, and that you have to be but they allow partial automation, which means that you have to be at your computer present while it's trading, um, and stuff like that. So just be aware that yeah, of the rules of whatever prop firm, because what last thing you want to do is you want to get to a payout with a prop firm, then they ask you if you were doing something with automation. You just it's like, yeah, and it's like, and then I just left it running while I walked away from my computer. When that's against their rules, right? And then you just told yourself you probably would lose your payout. But that hasn't happened to any of our members yet, right? But I do want people to be aware of that. Um, I think and I see some people asking questions if we're going to go over manual trading. I can go over kind of some manual trading. A lot of people um and actually, I guess first, does anybody have automation questions for Marcus or Keith? For automation, what level purchase do you typically use? I'll let
Okay.
Marcus said. Yeah, Marcus, go ahead. Or Keith, either
Let's
one.
see. Sorry, I'm getting up to speed. Automation, what levels to purchase 50K, 100K? Well, there's two factors. One is, on a 50K, you shouldn't be trading a mini at all. That's a guarantee. 100K probably not a mini. I also um what level to purchase? Remember, we assume you're referring to prop firm account purchases.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
it
as
sounds
as
like.
as Marcus said, if you get a static account somewhere like with Blue Sky, you have the ability to, once you build up the account up enough, you won't have that trailing drawdown behind you as long as you keep some profits. You keep yourself in the green.
Yeah.
There's a couple other things. For anybody that does not know, the automated trading suite boasts the fastest execution times from what I've seen. Um, QuantView is also working on the product Alert Dragon, which I believe is for personal accounts. So we've got the ATS system, which is primarily for prop firm accounts. So it's the only piece of software QuantView has that is specifically geared towards prop firm automation, and it has the fastest execution time. But then there are also other methods of personal accounts, such as Alert Dragon, and then there are a lot of people that do that. So there's different flavors of it.
Yeah. And I mean, for when it comes to the account size, it's just like how much money do you want to make and what period of time too, right? Like, for example, like I use right now it's like I'm forward testing QScopper. I've been forward testing it on my own personal accounts for a long time, but it's like I can tell you with the settings that I'm using, like I can tell you that my max drawdown has been 6,000 trading one contract, right? The P&L for the year is about 40 in that $40,000 range. So it's like really, really good. But you know, you have to then pick an account that has that 6,000, that $6,000 drawdown. Now, this is not what I'm telling people to do, right? I'm not saying that this is a good habit to get into. But let's just say hypothetically you have a script that's biggest max drawdown has been say 10,000. Let's just make this easy, right? And you're forward testing it, right? And you're forward testing it, and all of a sudden it starts to have this big drawdown of $10,000, and you're like, well, it's not statistically hasn't had that previously. So now you can open up your prop account, right? It's not a guarantee, but you can open up your prop account in Blue Sky or whatever and go in for one contract knowing that you're already kind of at that max drawdown, right? And the chances of it continuing to lose that many trades in a row goes very unlikely, all right? So it's kind of a way to get statistically potentially a better start. It does not work 100% of the time, right? But for example, with that strategy, like the Q scalper one, right? I've had a drawdown of above $5,000 three times this year on that one. So none of them exceeded over 6,000. So it's like statistically, again, it's just like, there's only so much that you can do to try to give yourself the best chance with starting something like that. But that's one of those tricks that you can use. Wait for when you're forward testing to have a big drawdown. And then once you see that big drawdown happen, then start up the account. Yeah. Let's see. What are your stats in automation? My stats are kind of all over the place just because I have so many different things I'm testing. And I have versions of like I was testing something with the Q line that might exit. How do I explain this? It's Q trend, and then I'm using Q line as the exit. And so basically, inside of TradingView, I've taken two scripts, if that makes sense, and I've had one just sending exit signals and one sending just longs and shorts. Um, and that's worked out pretty okay. It's just not in one script, so I have no way of back testing it. So I'm just forward testing. So it's like I have stuff like that where it's not even combining the idea of two different scripts and how to get those to work in conjunction. But you know, Captain, my automation has been profitable on my personal accounts, but I do have I go horizontally instead of vertically with automation. So like I might have like 10 different scripts going, right? I like, okay, how do I say that? I would rather have 10 different scripts going on micros, right? Trading one micro each than one script trading one NQ contract, just because I know if I scale horizontally, right? And that say 10 out of or say 8 out of those 10 scripts make money over 6 months and two of them completely fail, right? I'm still profitable. So that's kind of how I like to go about using automation, my own personal trading. You know, because scripts will not perform sometimes, right? But then it's kind of like the idea of like same thing with like real estate, right? Like if you are scaled into enough houses, like even if you have vacancies here and here and here and here and here, like overall, the bigger picture is still making you money. So that's kind of how I treat automation. Um, can you do this? Take profit on take profit says no to bots. Um, yeah. So again, every prop firm has their own rules, right? ATS system will work on any prop firm that allows Trade-Evade. Now, the prop firm itself might have rules against it, right? And that's to your own discretion, right? That's up to you. Um, there's no way for them to know that it's automated. Um, from their end. So, I really the only way that people would be able to figure it out is if you had like 40 people trading the exact same strategy, the exact same settings, and on a prop firm that doesn't allow automation, right? Then they might be able to catch on, right? Um, but when it comes to, this is where it's like you might just want to stick with prop firms that allow automation. So Blue Sky is one of them. Elite is also one, unless they've changed their rules recently. They allow automation. Um, Keith, I think Top Step doesn't allow automation unless they've changed something recently.
They do. I'll go ahead and look it up and pull it up. And
Okay.
and like Travis said, I wouldn't be too concerned about the automation aspect. We're basically saying, it's up to you to do the right thing. And if you get payments rejected, then it would be because from an action that you took. However, there is no way for them to know if you're automating. The one thing to look out for is some firms consider trades that are of very short duration, perhaps 8 seconds or under in one case, to be considered high frequency trading. Now, I haven't seen any automation by QuantView that's actually produced uh, quick and fast trades in that manner. Just letting you know that you can be confident knowing that using that, it's the same as you being in front of it and pressing the button.
Yeah.
On that same topic, you'll see the word set and forget used sometimes in different ways. Um, it's constantly reiterated that, for example, I have a day job, right? So I can't just sit there and trade all the time, and that's why a lot of people would go for automation. Just realize that if you do go in for the automation, there'll be a period of time where you're learning the process. You got to create the charts. You got to create the alerts. You've got to check in on the system. If in some cases, if you have the ability to check in, then by all means, keep an eye on it. And when it's in profit, close it out. If you don't, then you have to use take profit and stop losses, or at least it's highly advised. There's also other conditions each day that vary whether automation does well or not. You'll see that in the spreadsheet, most of these successful runs have been from market open or New York open, 9:30 until about noon. And also news can obviously impact that and a bunch of other things. But in general, automation's there. But if it was super duper easy, we'd all be rich. But we're getting there. So share your data if you do use automation and you're willing to share it. Please feel free to add to the spreadsheet. It'll give us a better idea. As far as the forward testing, like I said, I was running 12 forward tests on one VPS server. I'm not sure
Yeah.
yet if we can actually. I don't know. Can we do forwards? We can't do forward tests and automated trading at the same time, can we? Do we know? Hmm,
I don't see why you couldn't.
okay. I have yet.
Like you talking about with the same strategy?
No, different, different.
Yeah, I don't
So,
see why it wouldn't work unless there's something about I haven't set it I haven't set that up. I do most of my forward testing right now inside of Trade-Evade. So
mm,
I haven't
okay.
messed around too much with the new system and the automation at the same time. Um,
Yeah, we'll be diving into that here pretty quickly, and Anthony's still building some of it out. But the point is, the tools are already there. You can already do forward tests. So, say for
yeah.
example, you want to do one mini. Well, let's stick with our words. If you're using a prop firm, you want to use micros, and you could set up a chart for 1 second Renko. Save it, create the alert. Take the same chart, change it to 5 seconds, create the
Hmm.
alert, and you can continue to do that. All those will run, and then you'll be able to take that data and actually put it somewhere. I suspect that the further this goes, QuantView may cook up a way to be able to access larger volumes of testing data for automation. But basically, it's improved a lot from when I first came in, and I'm heavily invested in it because I see that potential is pretty awesome.
Yeah, and like typically what I do is like I build out like you can see like if I could just go in my trade of it, you can see YM scalping scripts, RT scalping scripts, NQ scalping scripts. And so it's like then I have everything on like different time frames, and if I type in like quant, you can see that you can see some of them. Here's like my testing for Q Chronos. Here's Moneyball, and then I have like some other ones. Uh, but you know, so it's like a lot of times when I'm going through and I'm testing, like I'm testing a bunch of different uh different charts at the same time. And that helps me organize it, and then usually even then I have like on top of that, then I have like the demo testing chart. So these are each one that's actually being sent out to a actual live testing thing. And then on top of that, I have remote computers as well that I am sending some stuff out to as well, and just testing different ideas. And so I have a lot of different charts that I utilize for my forward testing. Um, and so what else is there? Uh, yeah, I mean, manual trading. I think some people. Let's see. I'm semi new to automation. Definitely a fan because I work crazy hours. Gotcha. Do appreciate it. See if there's any more questions. Could we talk a little bit about NinjaTrader? Don't know if I have NinjaTrader set up on this computer right now. I have it set up on my laptop. Um, to we'll probably cover it. We can cover NinjaTrader either in an upcoming video, probably on the channel, would be the easiest thing for us to do. Just because I don't think I have NinjaTrader set up right now, and I also don't want to show my personal accounts on there, because all that I would have to cover all that up. Um, yeah, I don't want to do that. Um, so I'll cover that in another upcoming video. As for manual trading, I know a lot of people have had some issues manually trading over the past couple weeks. I can kind of go over, you know, where I think the overall market is, if that's something that people would find value in. Um, I think that we can go do that really quick, unless anybody else has questions. And then also I'll let Ice go over some of his trades as well from this past week. Just so you can kind of see how we trade, and Ice trade a little bit different. Um, a lot of my trades this week have been off of. So first off, just taking a look at like QQQ where we are in overall like VWAP and stuff, right? But overall on the day chart, I said that we would stay probably under this blue line here for 16 days. On day 16, we popped above it. I very much think that if we popped above this, and didn't continue this downtrend, that we would end up probably moving higher, probably at least retesting the high. So that's what I'm expecting now. I don't expect us to go back below the 50 moving average on the day chart. And I'm just doing that from statistical data. I'm back testing data. The 15-minute chart has been very crucial for me for the past couple weeks, I think. Just because it gives me a really good idea of where quarterly and VWAP is and yearly VWAP is and weekly, right? Because we have been interacting with monthly VWAP, yearly VWAP a lot, right? And even today, this before market open, this green line right here, this is quarterly VWAP. And you can see how we respected quarterly VWAP all morning. And then when we came back into it, we respected it again. This was my trade. This is my only trade of the day today. Actually, I just took this trade long the first time we touched, and I got out. For about $500 in profit. I could have probably held it to like $1,200 in profit, but I was only looking for like $500 trading one NQ contract, um, per account, right? and then how that looked like on the 5 minutes. But I guess the big thing is like you have quarterly VWAP, but the big thing was like on the stacked imbalance. This is that first touch, right? This was that first touch. So you can see we have had a stacked imbalance right here from the earlier touches at 5 a.m., right? We had the stacked imbalance when we came down. We took part of that stacked imbalance and came right off of it. Um, and so it was a beautiful, beautiful trade setup. If we look at it on the 1 minute, um, these are standard deviations, but the 1 minute, it didn't look like that this trade right here, right? I don't have VWAP on this chart, right? But I know that VWAP was right here, right? Or the quarterly VWAP. And so being able to capture that long and I was really aiming to, for like the 21, but I think I got out like near the 9 right here just because I wasn't sure. This was pretty strong downtrend. To me, it just wasn't. I was like looking at this, right? And so once we kind of got up to this line here, um, I wasn't sure if we would just reject and come back down. So it's kind of like, if depending on where your trailing drawdown is, whether or not you want to hold that and bring your stop to break even, or if you want to just get out. If you're still in your trailing drawdown phase, take your profits, get out. Right. If you're past your trailing drawdown phase and you can just bring your trade up to break even and you can maybe potentially write it out for a little bit more profit, go ahead. But all this started to look like really horrible chop. Just these wicks just weren't looking nice to me, and this is why I didn't take any more trades for the rest of the day. Even though we came back down, we touched it again, and then we kind of rallied up the rest of the day. It was very choppy. It was very ugly. And this gets into like you don't have to trade. Like you don't if you have a good trade, right, or if you have a bad trade that morning, right, you don't have to trade. So if like you don't know where you're going, you don't have to trade it, right? On the 5 minute, right? What I'd like to see is kind of exactly what we saw later in the day. Once we started to rally up, you see this 8 moving average, and we're just kind of constantly above it, and we're just tapping and tapping and tapping all the way up, right? This is what I want to see, right? This is what was happening that morning. You see the difference, and like even though we had this touch and we had that move up, how choppy this looks on the 5 minute, right? This is what I don't want to trade. This is kind of what I don't want to see. And it's like I wasn't convinced that we weren't going to continue chopping, right? And even these big pullbacks that kind of were just everything was ugly about really the first half of today. Like and you know, I've already made the money and it was like you don't have to trade in. There's been a lot of days like that over the past couple weeks. So highly suggest using these charts and lot of one of the things that I look for, right, even on QGrid, right? Like if I go over here and I switch between QGrid and QPro, right? But if I turn on QGrid and you can see these pullbacks, right, that we had later today, especially afternoon, like this pullback, right? What I'm looking for too is like you typically a 3 leg pullback is one of the things that I really like, which is like a 3 leg on a 1 minute roughly um, pullback. So like something like this where it's like pull 1, 2, and then we have this third pullback kind of right here. So something like this where it's like I can draw a trend line and wait for us to kind of close above it and then take a long, right? Really what I like to see is I like to see it pull back to like the 50 or the 21 and 3 strong candles, which is not something we did very much today. Like we have these more, you know, I don't know, we have these more like trends down happening, right? Instead of clean moves. Again, this is just like goes back to like chop, where it's like if we go back to Friday, right? I can show you what a three candle pullback would look like, right? Like or cleaners pullbacks look like. All right. If we go, let's see, go to like 10 a.m. Let's see. I know we had some on this day. I mean, this is kind of clean. This is kind of like a rounded top, but it's like kind of like what I'm looking for is like three candles. This is really 4, but and that first one's kind of weird where it's like this this really pullback kind of like that, where we get these three big candles, boom, 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 like three. It typically it's like one bigger, right, and then a pull out of that zone with a confluence of like a VWAP or a 50 moving average or something. So that's kind of the golden setup that I look for a lot of times is like that, not like this. Like I don't typically like it when we're just kind of slowly moving into it like that. It's not as I don't. It's not as strong to me in a way. Um, I want to see. I want to see one, two, three, and then a push out. That's the ideal setup for me. Doesn't happen all the time. Doesn't happen every single day. But you know, this is what we're looking at on QGrid, right? Are these pullbacks, right? So if those pullbacks are like how they're moving on the 1 minute, it's important. If that whole thing is happening on a 30-second candle, right? Um, Probably that's probably not a good sign. That's probably not going to be just a pullback. That's going to be could continue pushing down. Do you use balance volume for scalping? Balance volume. I use stacked and balances. So what I use, I mean, when I'm showing the footprint chart, the only thing I change on a footprint chart is I have it on a 1 minute. I go into settings and I have changed my imbalance to 400 and I've changed the stacked levels. You check that, make sure that this is checked, and then make sure that your stack levels is 3. I found 3 to be a good stacked and balance, and the 400% to be a good, good, indicator of where there's stacked imbalances. And the bigger the stacked imbalances, the more that the more respected it is usually. Now, the problem is like I mean I can tell you from the past, like just if you look at all this overnight, right? These are stacked imbalances just happening on both sides. This is choppy. That's something that people don't understand. When I see look at this and I see stacked imbalances all over the place like this, that's choppy. That's really choppy. That's not giving me a clear direction, right? But it did respect this zone, right? And so I'm looking for a stacked imbalance down here. I'm not looking for this one little stacking balance here unless I have a reason to believe that that's a potential level. I'm definitely not going to try to trade that off 930 open, right? So I'm looking for do we respect this area down here? What other confluences are there? But even then, once we start to go into these stacks, you can see how we form another stack balance like right here, right? We come back up, we take this stacked imbalance out, right? We form more stacked imbalances, pushing down to the downside. We touch these stacked imbalances, we take them out, but we have this little push right back up, back to this stacked imbalance. So it's like you could I scalp this? Yes. Like could I take longs here, wait for it, close maybe somewhere in here, right? Or wait till we take this stack and bounce out, close it there. Then could I be waiting? Is this level going to now turn around, right? Could I potentially take a short? Yes. Or could I just wait, take another long off of this stacked and balance, see if we can't get a little scalp up here? Yes. Like you could scalp this, but you can see stacked and balances just because they're there doesn't mean that they're always going to be respected. You can see like this one that we formed right here, like we push up into it and we took some of it out, we push right back down, then we push back up, right? So it's like they're not always respected. And when they're choppy like this, it's really difficult to tell, right? And sometimes this just gets into like, is it even worth trying to scalp all that, right? Um, I don't think it is sometimes. I think that you're risking a lot to make a little bit of money, right? But this is where it's like stacked imbalances that line up with VWAP are incredibly powerful. Stacked imbalances that line up with pivot points, incredibly powerful. Because a lot of times, even if we're going to continue through, right? Let's just zoom in right here, right? Even if we're going to continue through, you can see the candle right here. Even if we're going to continue through this stacked imbalance right here, right? You can see that we came down, and then we have a nice little wick right a little bit back up, right? typically, like, that's not the biggest reaction, and we probably, if I go into this 30-second candle or into, like, 30-second candles, it might have pulled back all the way up to this level, right? Before continuing down. But my whole point is, like, typically when we have a stacked imbalance, we will have some type of reaction off of it, even if it's for a couple seconds, right? And so when you have stacked imbalances at key levels, right? Even if we came down here and we just went through the stacked imbalance, this is a key level stacked imbalance where I'm expecting it to at least come here, have a reaction, right? And then maybe a continuation, right? Um, so that's what to keep. What you have to, I guess, keep that in mind. I think stacked imbalances are incredibly powerful, especially in conjunction with smart money concepts and using a 15-minute chart and even looking at fair value gaps. It's like This is kind of like right here. It's like where we had this pullback. All right, this is a fair value gap on a 15-minute chart, right? This is so typically this is a nice trade setup, right? That's at 3 p.m., right? So if we go back to the stacked imbalance and we let's go to 3 p.m. and just see if there was a stacked imbalance on that little pullback. Oh wow, look at that. So notice how we don't have any stacked imbalances that are bullish until about right here, right? And then this is that 3 p.m. pullback. Do you see that? We came back down to the stacked imbalance and then traded off of it. That lines up with that fair value gap as well. These are like, so it's like once you can use the stacked and balance chart with confluences like smart money concepts, like having a fair value 15-minute fair value gap, right? It's just added confluence. Like I can sit here and tell you that, oh, you should trade up this pullback, right? And then because it's in a fair value gap. But if you can say, I can sit here and tell you that you should trade this pullback because it's a fair value gap with a stacked and balanced, that's a game changer. Because that's telling you that there's orders there at that level. It's a huge benefit. So a lot of my trades are, confluenced by the stacked and balanced chart. Um, and I just don't take trades just with the stacked and balance, and I just don't take trades off of the fair value gaps. I'm using multiple confluences. Um, yeah, we're
Hey,
going
question
to,
for you.
yeah,
The stacked imbalances, is that something we can add in TradingView?
yeah. It's
Also,
literally a
mhm.
footprint. It's called a footprint chart. It's this volume footprint. And then you can go into settings, and the only thing that you have to change is the imbalance to 400% and the stacked imbalance to 3.
Awesome thinking. And also for anybody that's not aware, QuantView also publishes free indicators. You just got to go to TradingView and follow them. And
Hmm.
anytime they publish a script, you'll be notified. So in addition to what they have for the Pro plan and the Elite plan, they also have free indicators.
Serious. I'm and then I guess Ice, if you want to share some of your trades from last week, because I'm sure you crushed it. You scalping with your Q with your setup. It's a little bit different than mine, so I would like for you to
Yeah, sure.
share some of
We can
your
talk on the
trades.
for yeah, we can talk on the for a moment. First thing I wanted to kind of expand on just a little bit on what you were saying regarding the pivot points. I think one of the reasons that may be helpful for everyone, and I want to kind of speak for myself because, as I've stated to many people, I've been trading, less than a year, so a lot of the technical know-how or um, specific charting, I just don't do as well yet, right? But the pivot points application that's in TradingView, when you put it on a 15-minute chart, and I think you talked about this last week, or you even talked about it in one of your, I don't think it was profit wins, but there was a couple times where you made videos kind of highlighting certain things. Um, that pivot points application, it highlights for you like several things, like for you to be aware of, like the literal pivot point, um, price to be aware of, as well as five different support or resistant areas on the chart. And for everyone today that traded, you can see that a large part of the day we were sideways for um, literally almost half the day. In fact, the fact that we are currently up 250 points in a day, like it feels almost like the most muted 250 points just because of how price was moving for everyone that trades Nasdaq. But going back to the pivot points, it kind of gives you a um, awareness of how well we're doing at certain points, right? So, for example, if you hit, like R1 or R2, if you're approaching that point, which on NASDAQ would have been 19,710 or R2 814.25. If you hit either one of those points and then you reverse, then that kind of gives you an idea that those are hard resistance points that we just don't have the volume from a buyer's perspective to push in front of just yet. And that would literally go against the name like a pivot point, right? Like it either is going to
Hmm.
pivot from that line or it's going to push through it. Now, at
Yeah.
a certain point later on in the day, we absolutely push straight through R2. Like that was like if you look at a 15-minute standard candlestick around 3:45, that was a big push up from looks like that wick was about at 19,762 and it pushed all the way up to 19861. So you're looking at literally 100 point, just about 100 point move within 15 minutes, and it pushed past that resistance level.
Yeah.
That would have
Okay.
been the trade of the day for everyone that takes their trades in the afternoon. That was around 3:45 Eastern Standard
Yeah.
Time. So
Can I show something too really quick
yeah, you
with
got
pivot points? Is that we're looking at the 15 minutes on in queue here, right? And you can see kind of how the second push didn't go as low, right? Second push on we didn't go as low. We're making going a little bit higher, but notice how like we kind of went through this pivot point, and notice back here on Friday how we didn't quite come down to that pivot point, right? But if I put that side by side with ES, right? Now look at how ES reacted off its pivot point on Friday, right? Look at how reacted off this pivot point, and then this was that second pullback. And so this is like where it's like ES and NQ are correlated, right? And sometimes just because there's a pivot point there on NQ doesn't mean we're going to go down and touch that pivot point, right? And a lot of times ES wants a lot of times it seems like ES also wants to touch its pivot point, right? And so this is kind of two examples of like ES touched its pivot point, right? And then started going up, and so did NQ, but NQ never touched its pivot point. And then like today, where NQ touched its pivot point, but then continued to push lower, right? And that is when ES was able to touch its pivot point, but that pivot point also lined up with quarterly VWAP as well. And so you have multiple things going for it. So it's not just the pivot points on NQ, and the pivot points on ES are extremely powerful and it work very much in correlation with NQ, and you can see reactions like that.
yeah. So that's I think kind of expanding on what you just said that there I think it's our job if we aspire to be profitable traders like it's going to take more than just um you know quant views indicators are incredible, right? But you still need to try to understand the story of the market as much as you can so you can have uh like a why as to the market is bullish or a why as to the market is bearish. If you can answer those questions whenever that trade is taken, there's a great chance that it will be a successful trade, whether it's 5 points, 10 points, 20 points, 30 points, whatever. Like being prepared for like big moves, such as what happened at 3:45, right?
Hmm.
Eastern Standard Time. And Travis, I'm actually glad that you said that because I didn't even consider that. I mentally I know that ES is essentially the kind of the grandfather of them all. So a large amount of Nasdaq will follow that. So being aware of that pivot point as well can even help in your in your trading. So what I suggest for everyone that uses, whether it's the free indicators that QuantView has, or if you have the lifetime or the monthly reoccurring, whether it's the pro, the elite, try not to get into the habit of just using, you know, those indicators of those screens strictly. Still try to get as much data as you can. And one of the ways that I do that is along with the pro chart, which is what I subscribe to, also have just a standard, like a literal chart, which is basic candlesticks. I put it on the 15-minute and I highlight those different pivot points. And now, probably from this point forward, I will also start going to the S&P just to be aware of what those pivot points are, how close or far aligned they are from NASDAQ, and then just trying to execute a game plan so you don't have accidental success, right? Like
Yeah.
there's many people that if they were trading around this 345 session, they absolutely should have gotten the bulk of that trade. But I think sometimes, and again, when I'm speaking to everyone, I'm also speaking to myself because I can remember the first few weeks or the first few months in trading, a lot of my big moves were, I stepped into those accidentally. I happened to be at the computer when it happened, and I took the trade, and it was great, but like I wasn't prepared for it. And there are some trades that I've taken where the trade has gone a lot farther, but I didn't have a understanding of what it was capable of because I didn't have all of the data. And having that being unprepared in that way can hinder how much profitability that you have. And we all know from experience that the market will take every last dollar that you give it if you allow it to. So why not we inverse that? And if we have the opportunity to maximize a trade, whether it's on the 5 minute or the 15 minute, and we're executing on the 1 second with quant view for everyone that has the premium subscription on trading view, we absolutely should do that. And you know, Travis, one of the examples that he had is that he made $500 off of one NQ contract. Well, we all know that there's $20 in a point for four ticks is $5 and $20 for each point. So that trade was over 20 points, right? Like it doesn't take a lot of risk to make a lot of money, and if we can have that mindset to where we are executing when the market shows tremendous opportunity, you can come into nearly every trade with low risk and make a ton of money. And then as you become more proficient and um, become even better at executing, you can add on to those trades to make even more if you understand how far it can go based on your initial analysis before you even take a trade. So,
Yeah. How much would your P&L end up being last week, you think?
uh, let's see, I can pull it up for you real quick. Let's see. Just gonna take a moment for that to load. And I'll
No, you're
just
good.
say it per, um, not across all 20, but I'll just say it for each account, and then you kind of will understand how, if you just add across 20, it'll make sense what that will be.
Yeah, you could just give
Uh,
me like an average.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's see.
Captain, the Captain's been killing it too, by the way, with payouts, man. Hey, I that's the one I was looking for earlier. He just requested another 3,000, so now he's up over 5 figures in payouts. Oh yeah, wish we have a new role that we're going to. I'm going to have two new roles for people in Discord. One for people who've got payouts and people that are above 5 figures in payouts. Um, and so I will add you to that role, Captain.
So let's see.
I mean,
So
because you're on 300K account size, I was just kind of curious on like what's your average profit that you're aiming for a week, roughly. Nice. Sorry.
yeah, so I try not to do
I know.
the
Aiming.
minimum amount of profit, or because what has happened when I've done that is it can kind of backfire on me. I'll tend to over trade at times when I do that. I try not to have like a minimum number to aim for. Um, just more of a like I've talked about it before, like a three strikes and you're out mentality.
Hmm.
But if I get one uh, great trade, um, like Friday, for example, was about 1,300 across one or two trades, then I'll call it. Even if I
Yeah.
see more opportunity, because even though I can make more money, I can
Yeah.
get beside myself, be arrogant, think I can't
Yeah.
lose the trade, and then what happens is I'll give some of that money away, and I've done that before.
Yeah. Uh,
Um,
the
so
reason
yes,
why I
I
wanted to
try.
bring that up was because I think like people don't realize like yeah, it's like you're showing these accounts sometimes, but it's like people don't, I think, one, or don't realize that you're on 300K account, so your drawdowns pretty significant. But it's like,
Yeah,
like today, like you only made a couple $100 per account. You don't even make a grand per account. That's
right,
totally fine. That's normal, and that's what people don't seem to understand. It's like if you have a guy that's trading 20 accounts and he's aiming for like, happy with less than $1,000 a day, right? And you're on a 50K account and you're aiming for like two, three, 4 grand, you're over leveraging.
right,
Um,
right.
and you need to be careful with that, or you're over trading. There's one of the two. Or, I mean, theoretically, I mean, you could be, uh, it just depends. It depends. Like if you're, I do this sometimes because I'm used to trading on Top Step, right? Where it's like if I win trades, like I will start to trade more aggressively throughout the day, just because I'm getting away from my daily drawdown. So if you're trading that way, yeah, I guess you could probably have these two, three, $4,000 days. You're going up in contracts throughout the day, but this is like my whole thing is like, you know, aim for small amounts. Like $500 a day is, if you're averaging $500 a day, you're at 5 grand by your 10th day. You're taking out $2,000 of it, and then you're giving yourself a $3,000 cushion. That's perfectly fine. There's a reason why I stopped trading my accounts today once I made 400, or my Apex accounts. Once I made 480, $470 today, right? That's
Yeah,
it. That's all I need on those accounts to comfortably get to payouts, and then not have to worry about it anymore. So, I could I sit here and keep on trading? Yeah, but $500 a day is a fantastic spot to be in. I even, before they Apex even crunched down on the rules, I was aiming for $310 a day. Um, and that was because at $310 a day, it was one trade. I would aim for $310. Um, and if you did that for times 8 days in a row, is like 2000, it was 2,480 basically. And you need 2,400 to 2,600 for a payout, right? And so basically I was just aiming for just enough just to kind of get into a payout. I think it was $315 is what I'm aiming for every single day, right? So barely enough to get to payout, and then I would flip the last 2 days and just get my payout. But then my
mhm,
accounts would end up at $600, and I would almost always blow them. But to me, it didn't matter because it was like I just made 2 grand off 10 account, 2 grand times 10. I was like, I made 20 grand. And then I was like, well, it's like if I have to just buy 10 more accounts, and be out another,
yeah,
2 grand, it's like I'm making 10, and now I'm spending two. It's like it just didn't, like it seemed, I didn't care about that. But now Apex apparently cares if like you're crashing and burning your accounts like that. So now you have to build up a little bit of a buffer, which is fine. I can do that.
yeah.
I was doing it more of a time thing, as that I wanted to do one trade on my Apex accounts and then move on to my personal accounts, right?
Right,
And if
right,
I
right.
could, if I was able to do that in a shorter time period, then cool. Then it allows me to trade more money over here. Um, but now I'm a little bit more careful, right? I'm trying to build up cushions, instead of just, you know, going for payouts, because they don't want you scheming, quote unquote, their whole payout structure, which is, You could say I was on the gray line. Let's put it that way. I was in gray territory, doing
Well,
flipping. How
you wasn't like burning them on purpose, but what you were doing is if you got it to the number, you got your
yeah,
payout, and
take my
it,
payout.
yeah. So you take the money every time. Like you don't like
Yeah,
take under $20,000 when you have $20,000 there. Now just the drawdown probably would make it tougher to build it
yeah,
back up because when that
yeah,
funded account started, you had a full drawdown versus now you have less, whatever that amount is. So
yeah.
and
Now doing
just
it
yeah.
in a habit of like constantly doing it was probably is where my gray area was. But that goes into like, yes, I agree with Ice in terms of like, if you get to a payout, right? Even if you don't have that big of a drawdown, if you've never got to a payout before, take it. No questions, right? Because it's about longevity and it's about rolling the money into new accounts, right? So it's like if you're at day 10 and you have $2,700, right? Um, you could allow yourself to try to take one trade, right? But I would say have a hard cutoff of like, if I lose, $90, I'm done, right? And I'm going to take my payout. I'm going to have a $600 drawdown. Then I will try to see if I can scalp my way or scalp this account back. Like, I always say, get your payout. Jay, I see that you're in here. Are you able to? Are you able to just confirm whether or not you got approved on your other payouts in the chat?
While you're waiting on him, another comment,
Okay.
referencing over trading and the time of day that you're trading. Um, as an example, over trading. Today I was up 250 across multiple accounts. Then I lost it. Then I made it back. Then I lost it. Point being, the highest volatility is usually between 9:30 and 11:30. You'll notice that a lot of seasoned or professional traders will usually be done by noon, more often than not, for those reasons. Example like today was a trend day, so it was a little more challenging. But you're sitting there waiting, doing 2 or 3 times as much work for only a fraction of the end result. So that all only thing I'm trying to say is trading in the morning is preferential. If the automation does better in the morning, then that can also be taken as an indication that manual trading can also be more prolific in the morning, and losses may increase as you trade later on through the day.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think it's yeah, I think it's just important to take yeah, take your profits, especially there's certain days that I just don't stick around, like Fridays, for example. I make money in the morning. I am not trading on Friday afternoons. I don't care what the market does. This is usually the market range gets smaller and smaller and smaller till the end of the day of Friday. Every now and then we might form like a wedge and then have a massive breakout at the end of the day. I don't care. It doesn't happen enough for me to want to bet money on it. Let's put it that way. Like like that at the end of the day, it doesn't happen enough for me to want to do that on Fridays. And so, you know, um trying to yeah, um start yeah. And I think the other thing that I'll say is just like just make sure that you guys are going slow. That's my biggest thing is Marcus just said it in the chat, but it's starting with one account and snowballing it. And one of my friends that he's probably one of the most successful, at least prop traders that I know, right? He does this thing where he continues to snowball. So he'll go one. So I think he starts at two now, but he starts at one. Used to start at one account, and then after that payout, he would get another account, and then after that 2 weeks payout, he would go to four accounts, and then after those 2 weeks, he would go eight, then go to 16, right? And he would stay at 20, and then if he blew those up, he would just start back at one and do the same process over again, right? Um, extremely profitable doing it that way, you know. And then that way, if he gets in a down, he says he does it that way because if he gets into like a dry patch, like where his trades just aren't working, where he's just whatever, this happens sometimes, right? That he's not blowing 20 accounts at a time for 3 weeks in a row, right? He's doing it, he's blowing one account all of a sudden, you know, and you know, because he had a dry spot, I think like in like November last year, where he just like no trades were working for him for like 3 weeks. He just couldn't, his mindset, like in what he was trading just wasn't working. And he was able to, you know, not spend a crazy amount of money doing that. So, anyways, I think we're going to cut it off. I just realized that we've been going on for just over an hour now. Um, if you have any questions, we will be live streaming again next week. If you have automation questions, at Keith in the chat in Discord, or at Marcus. Both those guys are great at answering potential questions for automation. And if you have questions about your trading, you know, feel free to at me as well. Yeah, that's it. Make sure you guys like, subscribe to the YouTube channel too if you haven't already, and we'll see you guys in the next video.
Thank you. Appreciate it.